Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session that I did with a gentleman that found himself getting overwhelmed and anxious in certain social situations. And it was interesting because this was a very confident, resourceful guy, and yet found himself in certain situations that he wasn't in control. And what was really interesting is that when I asked him to recall certain moments where he felt this way, there were subconscious metaphors that he was using to describe situations that created this idea of conflict or confrontation. So in one of the situations, he used the analogy that the knives were out. And he literally said the knives were out for him in this kind of meeting that he would be involved in on many times. Now, even though literally that wasn't the case, there were no one there with knives, believing or perceiving or evaluating that you've got people there that are out to get you puts you in a vigilant state. It has a presupposition of a threat, of a ambush. So that was going on. And normally, if you perceive there to be a confrontation, that could encourage the confrontational or the ego state or the part of you that does well in a confrontational situation. So that was interesting. And then a different case, he then recalled an interaction by someone over email where he said, like, what can I do with this garbage? So effectively, the positive intention behind that was to raise standards, to improve the quality of what he was working on. But to the person receiving that, they probably felt that their idea or their contribution was being rejected, but also that perhaps he was being unreasonable and not really understanding their perspective. Now, it's fascinating about how ego states work. Most people get this idea that you have different parts of your personality. So how you are with your friends might be different from your family, might be different from if you have children, or in different environments, people are going to see you, but a different version of you. And that's a good way of getting a sense of the different kind of sub-personalities that you have. And what was evident is that this guy could access this highly confident part in certain situations that were normally that required a heavy hitter, a go-getter. What I described to him as almost like a Joe Pesci kind of, knocking down doors and taking names kind of role. But that isn't always the most suitable role. So what you're going to hear in this hypnosis session is a way of empowering the subconscious mind to intuitively choose the right ego states and parts proportionate to the context that he's actually in. He was big into sports, so you're going to hear sports analogies like a coach, or also more spiritual analogies like the wisest part, the guru that knows all the other parts and is able to work with them to bring out the most suitable parts in the right context. This is obviously highly customized to a particular individual because these were certain ego states and situations that he was in. But I think for any hypnotherapist listening, you're still going to get value in terms of seeing how to utilize a influential ego state to subconsciously build teams and assign responsibilities at an intuitive level rather than a conscious, deliberate level. Equally, if you want to do parts therapy or ego state therapy to resolve some kind of what feels like a conflict in your life, there will be a link nearby where you can book a free 30-minute consultation call with me to explore what it would be like to work with me. But for now, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just get a sense that tension, stress, worries are leaving your body in your outward breath. As you continue to breathe in and breathe out, just get a sense that you're finding yourself going deeper and deeper, relaxed now. Notice that with your eyes closed, you can give more of your attention to the sound of my voice, and also notice that as you exhale, the outward breath goes for longer than it normally would, enabling more of that tension to leave your body and to activate your diaphragm. As you breathe in and breathe out, just notice that tension is leaving your body and you're going deeper and deeper, relaxed now. I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine that it's a sunny day and you're by the side of a relaxing pool. I want you to imagine that you're poolside on a sun lounger. It's sunny, but not that hot right now. So you can relax, feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin. As you breathe in and breathe out, just get a sense of going deeper and deeper, relaxed. I want you to get a sense that as I count down from 5 to 1, you're going to feel deeper and deeper relaxed with each descending number to enable you to let go. When I arrive at 0, you will imagine falling asleep on that lounger by the side of that pool, and you'll drift inside into your own imagination. Starting to count 5. Eyelids getting heavier and heavier, feeling relaxed all the way around your eyes. 4. As you exhale, just noticing that any tension in your jaw, around your face, you can let go of that tension now. 3, arms and legs just getting heavier, like you're completely letting go of any tension. 2, as you breathe in, feel like even your internal organs are starting to relax. 1, all the way into your gut, just to enable any anxiety to just melt away. And 0, imagine what it would be like to fall asleep there on that sun lounger and to drift into your imagination. And I want you to imagine for a moment, almost like a dream within a dream, that pool is no longer a pool of water, but something more profound. This is a pool of resourcefulness. Imagine that the minerals in that water, the liquid in that pool, facilitates something powerful, and that is versatility. I want you to imagine that as you feel the liquid on your skin, as you feel relaxed in that pool, it's reminding you that there are many different versions of you. There's that strong, confident version of you. But there's also that version of you that is able to just observe, to slow play a situation, to let other people make their moves, knowing that perhaps you've got a very strong hand and you can just play that in any way that you want, almost hoping that people read your inaction or lack of confidence in your voice as a sign of weakness, to enable them to reveal more about who they are and what they want. But also there's a version of you that is caring, understanding, really taking the time to see things from someone else's perspective. There's a creative part of you, a reflective part of you. I want you to imagine there are many different versions of you, each with different skills and talents, abilities. But also there is a part of you that really understands all the other parts. I want you to imagine that in this pool you can invite any of these other parts to join you in this pool. And I want you to bring forward the part that has the most knowledge of the strengths and weaknesses of all the other parts. A sage, a guru, the wisest part, the higher self, the coach. This part of you that knows all the other parts. Invite that person, that part, to join you in the pool. And when they're there, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to thank them. Thank them for their intuitive insight. That they know you better than you know yourself. And perhaps they would agree that on occasions, living your life, there's been times where even that part might accept that the wrong part was in control at the wrong time. A part that is useful in one context could be a liability in another. As you think about your experience with sport and teams that you've watched, maybe you can think of a player that was amazing in one team and didn't do so well in a different team. I want you to get a sense that this wise part knows all of your parts and has a great relationship with those. And I want you to thank that part for not just their knowledge, but their connections. This part is going to be your coach. I want you to think of yourself as the owner of a team. It's your team. But the coach will make the decisions as to which parts are useful depending on which situation you're in. I want you to ask the part if it would like to have more influence, more responsibility to enable other parts to have more opportunity to be more influential in your life. And if it agrees, just let me know by nodding your head. I want you to ask that part if I can communicate directly to that part. And if it agrees, then I'd like you to move from your first person. Imagine drifting into this part, this wise part, like that part is you and you are that part, still there in this pool of resourcefulness and versatility. And when I'm now talking to you as that part, that wise part, let me know by nodding your head. I'd like to echo that gratitude. You have an important role to play in any situation, in any team. You have your star players, and sometimes those star players have big egos and they want to be playing all the time, even when there are more suitable players that could be playing. And that means that you're going to need courage you're going to need to have that status, that power, that influence, so that you can inform those players that have been used to playing even in the wrong positions at the wrong times that you're the boss and that you're going to pick the right player for the right job. And sometimes you might pick teams of players to do something in particular. It was said that Walt Disney had 3 different parts in order to have the impact on the world that he had. He had a creative part that would come up with fantastic and magical ideas. He would have the critical part that would then challenge and question and doubt all of those amazing ideas. But in doing so, what was left was the very best of those ideas. He then had the implementer. Ideas are one thing, but actions are another. He would then access a part that would take those ideas that had been filtered out and then relentlessly implement the very best ideas. And in doing so, completely changed how children saw cartoons and movies, and even what they do with their holidays. And if it's good enough for Walt Disney, perhaps it's good enough for you to realize that sometimes one part can work in partnership with one or more parts to bring about a beneficial outcome. And if you're open-minded to picking the parts, or indeed, just like a Marvel movie, building a team of very skilled parts to work together to achieve a particular goal or mission or outcome, if you are up for that challenge to pick those teams, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine a time in your life where there was a time of intense conflict. The knives were out. Your authority was being undermined. And I want you to just observe that version of you that was in control at that point and how you handled that situation. Get a sense of realizing which part, which ego state was in control throughout that conflict. And perhaps realize that that was one of many, many different parts that could have been in control in that situation, but perhaps that part was deemed to be necessary because the situation was seen to be a battle, a conflict, a life or death situation. And therefore, doesn't it make sense that you would want your strongest, most determined parts to be in control if there's a big conflict? I want you to observe that scenario almost like you're watching it on a movie, seeing what happened, and when it gets to the end, let me know by nodding your head. And then imagine watching it in reverse, rewinding the whole thing. And when it gets to the beginning, I want you as the coach, as the wisest part, to consider of all the different parts, what may have been, with the benefit of hindsight and knowledge and the time that has passed, a more suitable part that could have been in control throughout that adventure. And when you feel that you've got a more suitable part that could have been in the executive, been in control at that particular time, just let me know by nodding your head. And then watch that movie and just get a sense of, if that part was in control, would they have communicated differently? Would they have seen the situation through a different lens? Perhaps less of a conflict and something else. Something that required more nuance and conversations and maybe even understanding rather than brute force that could kick down doors and take names. And if you feel that that part, with the benefit of hindsight, may have created a more positive, less intense outcome, and may have helped to get more of the outcomes that you wanted, just let me know by nodding your head. And then rewind that part all the way back, and then choose a different part. Each of these parts have different mannerisms, and perhaps you can give them different names to make it easier to recall the right part. Maybe it's worth considering a part that is a builder of bridges. Sometimes in life, just like politics, the best politicians are those that build alliances, understanding, connections. What if you were to see a networker, a relationship builder in that role, and again, play it forward, witnessing what happened, but with a different part of you in control. Again, getting a sense that there's no guarantee of better results or more success, but just an appreciation that different parts of you have different strengths and weaknesses, and therefore could influence the same situation in a different way. And if you feel that that part, again, could have been useful to either be in control or be an advisor in that journey of rolling out plans and ideas, just let me know by nodding your head. Imagine rewinding that. And then perhaps thinking of a different time. A time perhaps where a project or a particular plan maybe was being submitted. I want you to get a sense that what if there was a different version of you in control at that particular point in time? The project was being submitted, but even though you knew it wasn't up to standard, what if there was the ability to communicate in a different way by activating a different part? Maybe a facilitator, a part that had more empathy, a part that didn't see it as a us versus them, but more of a how do we do this? Or perhaps a different part. You're the coach, you're in charge, you decide which alternative part could have taken that role. And then imagine seeing that new version go through the same process, and although there's no guarantees, if you get a sense that with that different part of you in control, it would have been less likely to turn into some kind of investigation or issue, and still get the outcome of wanting to submit a project that could do interesting things. If you feel like a different version of you could have helped lead to a different outcome, let me know by nodding your head. Imagine rewinding that and again trying a different part. Imagine this time a team of 2 or 3 different parts. Only one can be the leader of this project, but they can have helpers. Just as Walt Disney had 3 different parts to implement something, maybe there's different parts that take control at different times. And imagine this kind of ensemble of different parts working together. And again, if you get a sense that they would have dealt with the situation differently in a more collaborative, cohesive way, let me know by nodding your head. And then rewind. And I want you to get a sense of, what if you have the ability to be the coach of a dream team? Every different part could be useful for a different situation. There's going to be a time where you need to pick your go-getter, your doer, the version of you that just gets shit done. But sometimes that part can just rub everyone else up the wrong way, leading to stalemate, leading to passive aggression, leading to sneaky tactics to avoid your will getting done. Imagine that you've got the ability to pick different parts or teams, and that each time you experience different combinations or individual parts working on a project, your job is to evaluate how good they are, to update your notes so that you play them more often in the positions where they're stronger and less often and giving someone else a chance. And if you feel that working in this way will enable you to have more versatility, more choices, more options when it comes to dealing with all different events in your life, that could lead to more good experiences and certainly more shades of grey rather than black and white, more nuanced, discerning decisions rather than just binary yes or no. If you get a sense that this would be useful and you're happy with this responsibility to be the coach, to pick the teams, to evaluate those teams, knowing that you have permission from the owner to do all this, just let me know by nodding your head. Imagine that you're back in that pool and then separate from that part. You're the owner of the team, this is the coach of the team, and I want you to just let that part know that you have huge confidence in their abilities, that you feel that they do know your different parts, the strengths, the weaknesses, and more often than not, you have confidence that they will pick the right parts to be in the right situation, or that if they don't pick someone ideal, they've got the capacity to learn from that and become wiser and make better choices going forward. As you communicate that to that part, notice their facial expression. They seem significant, important, influential. You can still give them feedback if you feel that perhaps they didn't make the best call, but you're going to trust that they can learn from your feedback to make better decisions going forward. I want you to imagine how ridiculous it would be for a team of 150 players to have the same 6 or 7 players playing every game. Doesn't that put too much pressure on those players? Expose them to overwhelm, injury, perhaps even fatigue. And by rotating those players, having different players play in different situations depending on their strength, doesn't it give you more options, choices, and versatility as to handle all different situations in your life? I want you to imagine the pressure on a star player in a team. There's great expectations on that one player, but when the whole team can be relied on, doesn't it take the pressure off any one part? As you get a sense that you are empowering your subconscious mind to be more versatile, nuanced, wise, intuitive. I want you to get a sense that in life you either win or you learn. And sometimes this coach will make great choices, but even if they don't, that coach part will learn from that and make better choices in the future. The only way to fail is to not even attempt to mix things up, to try out different parts and different situations, to keep doing the same thing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results. But now you've empowered this wise, higher self to look at all of your resources and to pick the best ones depending on the circumstances. And I want you to thank that part in advance for the profound impact they're going to have on your life. And if you're certain that this part has the competency to do this role well, let me know by nodding your head. Now imagine that you're no longer in the pool because you realize that you've been fast asleep by the pool, just in a daydream, and now you're on the sun lounger by that pool, getting up, walking around the pool. And then you realize that even the pool and the lounger and the weather around you are all just figments of your own imagination. Thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams, and actually you're listening to me firmly in the present. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling stress has been alleviated. That what was the responsibility of maybe just a few parts is now the responsibility of all of your parts. And that gives you confidence that you can handle situations in new ways, through new lenses, trying different perspectives that enable you to be more understanding, more empathetic, or at least have different approaches to deal with different situations to just test if they work better. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're back in your own physical body, all parts firmly in the present, working collectively under the influence of your wisest part to enable your intuition to make judgment calls that will take your life in profound positive directions. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.